My Irish pot of gold. Hey, Chef Dez coming at you from my kitchen again, corporate chef of BC Egg. Yeah, today we're gonna make an Irish soda bread. I wanna show you how easy this is for any time of year, any meal. It is great. The first thing we're gonna start off with is 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Then we're gonna add a 1/2 cup of wheat germ. I really like using wheat germ in my soda bread. It gives it sort of a rustic, earthy sort of flavor and is fantastic. You're gonna love it. We're also gonna add 3 tablespoons of white sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt. And this is our dry mix, all our dry ingredients. We're just going to mix that up in a large mixing bowl. Then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of butter that I've cut into little cubes here, and it's gotta be cold butter. Then all I do is take a pastry blender and cut that butter into the dry mix. And you just wanna do this until the butter pieces are about the size of peas. And that will distribute the butter throughout, giving these little pockets of fat, which will make this bread nice and tender. You got to clear your pastry blender every now and then and just keep cutting it in. All right, that looks good. Then we're going to take 1 large BC egg. Always remember, every single large BC egg has 14 key nutrients, all 9 essential amino acids, over 6 grams of the highest quality protein you can get. And 1 large egg, it's only 80 calories. So we're going to take that large egg and crack it into a bowl and then just beat it up. Then we're going to combine that beaten large egg with 1 1/2 cups of buttermilk. And then just whisk that all together. Whenever you're making a quick bread, you always have to remember to have everything ready to go before you add the liquid to the dry mixture. As soon as you add that liquid to the dry mixture, what's going to happen is the baking soda, the baking powder is going to start reacting. So you want to make sure you have your oven preheated, which I do, 375 degrees. You're also going to want to have a parchment-lined baking sheet standing by as well. And now we can add the wet mix to the dry mix. Then at this point, you just want to mix it just until it comes together, and then we're going to dump it out onto the countertop. Try not to overmix, that's going to make it tough. So right about now, we're going to dump it out on the counter. Before I do, I just put a little bit more flour down on the counter, and I take that big shaggy mess, and I just dump it out. Quick breads are supposed to be tender, so this is really important to make sure that we're not over mixing, and we're gonna mold it until it's just shaped and then put it on the baking sheet. So I like to use a bench scraper. It just sort of helps to keep my mess contained here a little bit. And we're just gonna press this together until we can form a rough dough. And again, just being very gentle with it. We wanna make this into a circle about 1 1/2 inches thick in height. And if your hands get a bit sticky, you can add a little bit of flour to your hands too. It's looking really nice. So we're going to transfer that to our baking sheet. And all I do now is I just press it until we're about 1 1/2 inches thick. Look at how nice and rustic that looks. One more thing to do before it goes in the oven. The Irish always puts a cross in the top of their soda bread. This is a very traditional thing to do that goes back many generations and is done to ward off evil spirits. So sometimes you have to flour your knife a little bit just to make sure it doesn't stick to the dough. And then we're just going to take it, do an X sort of design on the top, and that will represent our cross. And that will open up in the oven. So 375 degrees, about 40 to 45 minutes. You're looking for this to be nice and golden brown, and an inserted toothpick will come out clean. Oh boy, this smells so good. Wow. What you want to do next is just take the bread and get it onto a cooling rack right away and let that rest before you cut into it. All right, here we go. You see how nice and golden brown it is. Remember the addition of the sugar that we put in there? That really helped to create this incredible crust. And what the good old BC egg does is makes the inside so nice and tender and moist. Listen to this crunch. Oh, and look at that inside, it's beautiful. Fantastic. What a beautiful looking loaf of bread. Add a little butter and you're set to go. It's amazing. Dip it in some soup, some stew. It doesn't really matter. You're gonna love this bread. Make sure you check out the website at bcegg.com for a whole bunch of recipes, tips and tricks. And this is Chef Dez signing out. Where are you getting your protein from?